Hello and welcome. This is your weekly fix. I'm Smita Nair. This past week, India witnessed its worst train accident in decades. The three train collision in Balasore on Friday claimed at least 275 lives. Over 900 are injured, many critically. A preliminary investigation has pointed to signaling failure as the probable cause of the accident. Now, a CAG report from last year had flagged many specific systemic concerns relating to railway safety. The report states, among other things, that of the total 217 accidents in the last 4 years, 75% of them were due to derailment. Importantly, the audit highlighted what it said was an increasing trend towards expenditure on non priority works against the guiding principles of Rashtriya Rail Sanraksha Kosh deployment framework. The RRSK is a railway safety fund. The sole purpose of creating a separate dedicated fund for financing safety related works was defeated as safety related works were held up due to fund constraints, the report said. Now, the question we're asking today is, could the Odisha train tragedy have been averted? To help us arrive at an understanding of the state of our railways is Mr. Alok Kumar Verma, a veteran of the Indian Railways. He was with the Indian Railway Service of Engineers. Thank you, sir, for making the time for speaking to us here at Scroll.
Yeah, it's good to be with you.
Right. So, before we explore the underlying cause of this catastrophic accident, could
Yeah.
you help us understand one thing? Could you help us understand signaling? For those not entirely conversant with the railway system, what do authorities mean when they say signaling failure likely caused the accident? How does signaling work?
You see, in railways, a train cannot enter into a block. You see, every route is divided into block sections, Usually between two stations is one block section, then next two stations in one block section, and then third block section, and so on. So a train cannot enter into a block section unless it is given clearance that there is no train ahead of you, that the path is clear and the driver can take his train forward. So this message is conveyed to him through the signal. Now, signaling also means interlocking. Interlocking means that the route is properly set. Like in this case, the route should have been properly set for the through line, not for the siding. So signaling means signaling and interlocking. Interlocking to ensure safety, that once the system will check that the proper route has been set, then only a green signal will be given. So signaling failure here means that although the train was given green signal for going through the line through the station on the main line, it was not supposed to stop there. But the route was not set for the main line. It was set for the siding. And the siding was occupied by a freight train, a stationary freight train. So this train entered the loop line, which is on a sharp curve. You have to take a sharp curve. The train is supposed to, if a train is entering into a loop line, it is supposed to slow down. It cannot enter at full speed into a loop line. So here the train entered the loop line at full speed. It derailed, it got unbalanced, and then it collided with the train which was standing on the loop line, on the loop line. So that was the first collision. Now, due to the impact of this collision, several of the coaches of the train derailed, and some of them, they fell on the adjoining tracks, on which the train on the opposite direction was about to come. In this case, it is a matter of chance that the next train was to pass in just 1 minute, in just about 1 minute. So nobody had the time. Normally, what happens if a train derails? Then the driver of the train, or the guard of the train, or the station master, who in this case, because the train was at station, they will go and protect the other line on which the train is coming. They will put red signal there by hand signal, or if it is night, then by lamp signals to stop that train. In this case, it happened so quickly, they had no chance to stop the other train. So the other train banged into the fallen coaches, which was infringing its path, and collided with them at full speed. So you had two full impact collisions within just about 1 minute.
Right. So, in the context of how you have explained signaling to us, sir, and obviously your understanding of how the railways function, I want you to comment on the railway minister's statement, particularly the part where he said that the root cause of the accident and people responsible have been identified. Now, to my mind, it seems that he is looking to pin the blame on individual action or inaction instead of looking at this as a result of a systemic issue or a systemic problem. How do you view this statement, Mr. Verma?
You see, yesterday I wrote that piece in Indian Express. Why is it that we in India have such disastrous accidents so frequently? Almost every 1 year or 2 years, you see, if you leave this COVID period behind, you had a disastrous accident at Khatoli, you remember, in 2017. Then I think just around that time, there was an accident of Indore Express near Kanpur. In that, I think about 150 people died. So, if you look at the record of Indian Railway, we have one of the worst records. Something like record of countries like Tanzania or Nigeria or Pakistan. We come into that category. Of severity and frequency of accidents. If you look at the data, accidents involving passenger trains are quite uncommon and rare in developed systems. I'm talking about European railways, Japan, and now even China. Chinese railway has an excellent, a much better safety record than we have in India. So we should not see things in isolation. We should see where we stand compared to others. So this magnitude of accident taking place so frequently indicates a systemic failure. And what my studies have shown, I have been studying this thing for a very long time, that the root cause of the major problems facing Indian railways is congestion on the Indian railway network. So, what are these problems? These problems are safety and slow speed of trains. You see, we have around 2000. We entered an era of people owning cars, personal cars, and air travel becoming affordable for people. So railway, I mean, this is a fact of history. It happened in Europe after World War II in 1960s, then 70s. That railway, when these new modes of transport come up, railway is going to face very tough competition. Now, to face that competition, railway has to raise its speed of its trains, and it has to improve safety, and of course, comfort is important. So speed and safety, they are interrelated. Now, in the case of India, what is to be worried about is that we have some of the slowest speeds of trains in our country. You see the speed of trains has not really increased in last 40, 50 years. This Rajdhani Express, it was introduced in, I think, 1978, then 1982, and onwards, these trains were introduced then. Since then, we have hardly raised the speed of trains, with the result that people now prefer to do short distance journeys by car and long distance journeys by air. So, Indian Railway had to transform itself like other railways have done. And I have discussed this aspect how China has done it. How China has expanded its network, how it has raised the speed of its trains, and today it is a thriving railway system which is competing effectively with air and road modes of transport, and it has got excellent safety record also. You see, in China, not many people travel by air for domestic travel, even if they can afford. because they find trains are better, they are more comfortable, they are safer, they run on, they have better punctuality. So the root cause, I mean, this accident is a reminder. In fact, after this accident near Muzaffarpur, Muzaffarnagar, that Khatoli accident, I had written an article in it again in Indian Express, and there also I had pointed out this thing. You see, that accident was another reminder. If you remember, what had happened was that the track in charge, the track supervisor, he opened the track, for maintenance. He removed the rails and started carrying out maintenance without taking traffic block. Why he did not take traffic block? Because he had been trying to get traffic block to carry out this urgent maintenance. He was not getting traffic block, so he was forced. I mean, I don't know how far he was correct in doing it, that he blocked the section and started the work, because a permanent way inspector has the authority that if he thinks that track is becoming unsafe, then he can block the traffic. That is, he can put red flags on either side and carry out the urgent maintenance. But in this case, what happened, that the Kalinga Express was coming at full speed. For whatever reason, the driver could not see that there was a red flag and people were working on the track, and the train came on the track and it derailed, killing more than 20 people and many people injured. So you see, that was another eye opener, that you are not able, there is so much of congestion on your railway lines that you are not able to give traffic block for urgent maintenance. So we should focus not on just the immediate cause in this horrific accident. We should look at the larger issue involved. Why such accidents keep taking place in our country, on our
Right.
railway system?
Right. And yeah, if I understand you correctly, you're saying speed and safety are the two main things one needs to look at.
Yeah.
And congestion is the reason why these haven't been addressed. The number
Yes.
of trains that are traveling. Could you give us an approximate number of this congestion? Like what is the capacity and what is the
I'll
congestion?
I'll tell you, but let me put this in perspective with another example. I mean, you have heard about the Vande Bharat trains. You see, the government is pushing it as a big step in modernization of Indian railways, of a semi high speed train. But the reality is that, because although the train is fit for 160 kilometer per hour maximum speed, our track has not been upgraded. Our track has not been upgraded, so these trains cannot run at faster speed than the existing trains. So there is basically a reduction, a saving of only 5 to 10 minutes in the journey time by these trains, which have been, I think, 15 trains or so, which have been introduced so far. So again, why we have not been able to raise speed on our tracks? Because of all these things, congestion and safety concerns. So we have to tackle this whole problem by increasing capacity of our network, because when we increase the capacity of our network, people will get time to carry out necessary maintenance. We will be able to upgrade our track for higher speed. So then only by getting necessary capacity, we will be able to meet the goal of better safety and higher speed. Now, coming to your specific query about the level of congestion. Now, this level of congestion, in fact, Railway Board, the apex authority, has itself been highlighting. If you look at the National Railway Plan, which was published 2 years back, I think 3 years back, this that report deals in depth with this problem. According to that report, presently about 10,000 kilometer of Indian railway routes. So 10,000, I mean, that includes our key trunk routes, like the three routes emanating from Delhi to Mumbai, Delhi to Howrah, Delhi to Chennai. then the route from Mumbai to Howrah, and then several other key routes, about 10,000 kilometer route kilometer is running 25% above the capacity. Whereas for proper operations, so that trains can run with required safety, giving adequate time for maintenance and run on punctuality, you should not cross the figure of 90% of the capacity. Desirable figure is 70% of the capacity. So a desirable maximum is 90% of the capacity. 10,000 kilometers of our trunk route is running at 125% capacity. So that's the level of congestion. And but you look at the other thing, what have we done to raise the capacity? Now you look at the data, how many route kilometers we have added. You see, if our these trunk routes are congested, then you should make another line, like what you are doing in road sector. You are making expressways where there is already a national highway. Say Delhi to Mumbai, there is a national highway. Now you are making a elevated segregated expressway between New Delhi and Dehradun. There is already a highway. Now you are making a new expressway. So this way you are making new expressways to meet the growing demand and eliminate congestion from the existing national highways. So the same approach is a very simple thing. The same approach is required for railways also. On all the routes where you are reaching that limit of 90% utilization of capacity, you should start building new lines. Say new line between Delhi to Chennai, Delhi to Howrah, Delhi to Mumbai, then Mumbai to Nagpur and other sections. But sadly, this has not happened. Although this problem is there for last 20 years. It's not a new problem. The problem of congestion is there for last 20 years. And if you look at the data, the Indian Railway is not able to compete for market share with road and air since 2005. Since 2005, Indian Railways market share of both freight and passenger traffic is falling. And in fact, if you see data of the last 5 years, even in absolute terms, the traffic is not increasing. I
Right.
mean, the passenger carried, that freight carried is now stagnant. Whereas you should be looking, considering the fact that Indian economy is a growing economy, like China's economy. Desirable figure is that Indian Railways traffic should be increasing by 7 to 10%. It was increasing at that rate till about 2005. If you look at the data, Indian Railway traffic was increasing by 5 to 7% before 2005, but since then it has been tapering off. So this chronic problem has to be addressed instead of looking at the immediate cause of accidents and then forgetting the accident till another accident take place. We have to address this core issue of uh, heavy congestion on the Indian Railway trunk roads.
Right. Mr. Verma, since I know that you specially focus on railway speeds and the technical aspects related to achieving those speeds, some of which you already referred to in your first answer. Could you give us a sense, sir, of the money that has been spent on these Vande Bharat trains, which are meant to be, as you said, semi-high speed trains, compared to the additional speed achievement? You said that the what we are saving is is on a particular journey merely 5 to 10 minutes.
Five to
That,
10 minutes.
how does that sort of square off with the kind of money that has been spent on these trains, as opposed to what would have worked better if that money was spent on, as you said, enhancing the ability of these tracks, for instance,
The
building.
capacity of the rail, capacity of the
Right.
network.
Right.
Yeah.
Could you sort of, if you can give numbers to help our
Yeah.
viewers understand it
You see, in
exactly?
this case, uh, cost is of course significant because cost of a Vande Bharat train is almost double of a normal Shatabdi train. Okay, a Vande Bharat train costs about 100 to 120 crores. So that thing is there, and that is why the fare is also higher. Like it is being marketed more as a luxury train. than a train which meets requirements of everybody. It doesn't have general class, or it doesn't have normal seating, so cost aspect is one, that we are spending money on Vande Bharat, and there is a big program to introduce, I think, 500 Vande Bharats in maybe next 2 years. So that's quite a lot of money. I think they are going to procure something like 60,000 rupees, 60,000 crores worth Vande Bharat trains. So that is one aspect. But the bigger issue here is that your network is already congested. You are introducing these trains, whereas you should be not introducing new trains till you create new capacity. And if you have to run trains, then you should run trains, on, like, this train which derailed, East Coast Express. I mean, this Coromandel Express. It is known for massive overcrowding. This is one of the busiest and most important trains, in that area. So better it would be that we run more trains which can reduce this congestion, instead of trying to run this kind of luxury train which is not really saving time. If it were saving time and attracting people from air travel, it would still be okay. But even that is not happening. So it is neither able to provide faster travel, and it is eating into the existing capacity of the network.
Right. So you had, I understand, I don't know where I had read it, perhaps in one of the Twitter threads you had put out, or was it in a piece you wrote? I can't recall, but you had a plan on how this could, to make
Yeah.
Indian Railways better, particularly with reference to what we are dealing with congestion, which you say, if I understood you correctly, is the chief underlying cause of these safety issues. Congestion, you would say, is the chief cause of it. Have I got you right, sir?
Yeah, it is the underlying
Correct.
cause. Yeah, it
Correct.
is the underlying cause of both the problems facing Indian Railways, safety and speed. You
Right.
see, safety and speed both have to be seen together. That unfortunate part is we have the slowest trains and still we have bad safety.
Hmm.
And both the problems are related to the same cause. Root cause is the same:
Hmm.
inadequate capacity, congestion.
Right.
So it is this problem which has to be addressed.
Right. Right. A couple of quick questions, sir, to
Yeah,
close.
you are asking about a plan.
The plan, yeah. Just before
Yeah.
you go to that, I also I didn't ask you about these bullet trains. I mean, those bullet, the Mumbai Ahmedabad, with much fanfare. This was announced, and it was like a big sort of PR a PR occasion. But
Yeah.
what did you sort of make of it? I mean, I've read your views, but our viewers who may not have perhaps read what you wrote about it, could you sort of briefly tell us about it before you go to what you think
You
should
see,
be the plan?
the bullet train has one big issue. They are making this bullet train line on standard gauge. Standard gauge is the gauge which is followed in Europe and some other countries. But in India, we have Indian broad gauge, which is significantly broader than standard gauge. Compared to Indian broad gauge, standard gauge is a narrow line, is a narrow gauge. Now, standard gauge has been chosen looking into taking into account the terrain and ground conditions. If you have some interest in geography, you would know that most of Europe, most of China, they are mountainous terrain where ground is rocky, ground is stable. So there you can have a narrow gauge. But in India, most of the trunk routes are on alluvial soils, whether it is in the Indo-Gangetic plain, or it is the eastern coast or the western coast, or even the Deccan Plateau is a flat plateau. So we have a flat terrain, and most of the trunk routes are having alluvial soil, soft alluvial soil. So we need a broader gauge. Now, what has happened? Now, this is a purely technical issue which railway board should have examined. This railway line, by making it on standard gauge, you have almost doubled its cost. And second thing is, because it is not same gauge at the Indian railway network, it will be isolated. It will be a standalone line. there will be no connectivity. You see, what happens is that, say, if you are familiar with, I mean, let me tell you about, let's take example of France, okay, or maybe Germany or Italy. So they have high-speed lines. Okay, say for example, Paris to Marseille via Lyons, there is a high-speed line. But these trains, they go beyond that line. They go to Nice, Monaco, or other places, or in the north also, uh, to go to other destinations also. So this line is having a bigger hinterland. It is serving a bigger area because it is able to travel on non-high speed line also to go to nearby places. So because of this interoperability, the trains are having higher capacity utilization also. So by making this line on standard gauge, we have increased the cost of the line, and second, we have reduced its ridership. So because of these two factors, and if you go on making such lines in India, it will have a multiplying effect. So, and I think the government has probably realized it, because till about 1 year back, you were hearing about so many new high bullet train lines, Delhi to Varanasi, and
That seems
so
to have
many
been
of
shelved.
them.
Yes.
I mean, extending the Mumbai Ahmedabad to Delhi, and maybe about 10, 12 DPRs
Hmm.
had been, detailed project reports had been prepared, all of them for standard gauge.
Hmm.
Now they are not talking about it, and I think I have informally learned that they
Hmm.
have practically shelved the plan, because they have realized, I think they have realized that it
Hmm.
should not have been built on standard gauge. It should be built on broad gauge to
Hmm.
reduce the cost, to
Hmm.
increase its ridership.
Hmm.
Uh, that should have been done.
Okay. So we're sort
Yes.
of running out of time. If I may request you to briefly, because I found that very interesting what you wrote on your plan for, what would you have done had you been the man in charge of
Yeah.
fixing this particular issue? In a brief manner, sir, could you tell our viewers what you had written?
You see, in 2006, I had gone for a public management program in IIPA Delhi, Indian Institute of Public Administration. There, I got nine months of break from service. So I devoted this time to studying how the world railways are competing with air and road, because this problem which we were going to face, I was able to foresee that this problem is going to come in India. So how other countries have done it. So then I wrote a report that time itself, and I gave it to Chairman Railway Board that time. He also showed keen interest, and that is the time when China was going full throttle for expanding the network, making new lines, raising its speed. So the plan is very simple. My assessment is that we have to upgrade about 15,000 kilometers of our trunk routes. Okay, basically all these trunk routes, which form the quadrilateral and the diagonal, and then some others. So about 10,000 plus 5, about 15,000 kilometers of track has to be upgraded to 200 kilometer per hour. Presently, the maximum speed mostly is 130, 120. We have to raise it to 160, and where possible to even 200 kilometer per hour. And then in parallel, we have to build about 10,000 kilometers of new lines. Basically, just like you are making new expressways, you have to make new high speed lines, that is not bullet train, but 200, 250 kmph lines between Delhi, Mumbai, Delhi, Chennai, Delhi, Howrah, and then between Howrah and this thing, Mumbai, and a few other important routes, like Delhi Chandigarh, Chennai Bangalore, where there is a lot of congestion right now, a lot of demand for traffic. So 10,000 kilometers of new lines and 15,000 kilometers of the existing routes to be upgraded, and this is going to cost about 7 lakh crores. Now if you look at this, just 500 kilometers of Mumbai Ahmedabad bullet train is going to cost around 2 lakh crores. just 500 kilometers. But you can do this 25,000 kilometers with just 7 lakh crores. It makes eminent sense to pursue this plan. And this is not, I mean, I am not suggesting anything out of the blue. This is what other countries have done it. This is a workable and proven plan, and government of India should now take up this. I mean, these accidents are a reminder
Hmm.
that you have unsafe tracks and you are losing market share. And the problem is one. The core problem is one. You have to address that core problem. That is of increasing capacity and raising speed, so that you also improve safety.
All right, sir. Got it. I hope
And,
those
yeah.
in charge of making decisions in the Indian Railway are listening to what you have to say. For the moment, though, sir, we appreciate your insight, and we better understand where the Indian Railways, the state of Indian Railways as of today, and perhaps we should see the accident, that catastrophic accident that happened in Balasore in this context. Mr. Verma, thank you for joining us, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.